This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of The Future of Email Marketing. My guest today, Nicole Phillip from MEMarketing. Nicole, right? I can go with just Nicole?
Yes, yes.
Okay, because if I say Nicole Denise, I'll drop one or the other. Well, welcome. Tell the audience a little bit about you and your business, please.
Sure. Well, I'm so excited to be here. First, let me greet you. Thank you so much. But yes, again, my name is Nicole Denise Phillip. I am the owner of MEMarketing, which is a marketing agency where we focus on leaders and entrepreneurs that desire to build a business that inspires.
Nice, nice. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. You've got a substantial percentage of customers who have some component of faith or faith-based drive to what
Yes.
they do as well, right? Ministry event is another interpretation of MEMarketing. How long have you been doing this?
Yes, so I've been in entrepreneurship for about 12 years now.
Oh, yeah.
I started my business while working corporately.
Hmm.
And so I actually managed to do both. If you're in that transition of going from corporate to your own business, it
Hmm.
is doable. And one of the turning points in my career was actually getting laid off as a manager. And so I
Really?
remember the day, it was February 17th. I will never forget. And walked in, and they decided to lay all of us off. We were actually merging with another company.
Yeah.
And because of that merger, there was some layoffs to the organization, and I was a part of that. But
Wow.
it was really the catapult that allowed me to focus just on entrepreneurship.
Wow, good for you. It's a healthy way to tackle it, especially when when it's a merger and a bunch of people are going out the door. Like it's really not personal. Someone somewhere made a numbers decision, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. And I take it you like the difference between the two a little bit.
Yes, I love my freedom.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I cannot see myself going back to corporate.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, as a fellow entrepreneur, I agree about the freedom. There's definitely a different cost in terms of
Yes,
responsibility and details. Like no one does the stuff for you. You got to do it.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Marketing stuff, accounting stuff, technical stuff,
You have
whatever the
to
load
be a
is.
jack
Like,
of all trades.
yeah, yeah, you really do.
And it can really be frustrating,
Mm.
but when you look at the things that you've learned
Hmm.
in tapping into all of those areas in your business, it really does make for more success when you have some knowledge. You don't have to be an expert. I'm one that really
Right.
teaches on the gift of genius, but it does enrich your business.
Now, what have you found helpful in learning the things that you've mastered about being an entrepreneur?
The biggest thing is persistence.
I was just
I
watching
said,
this. I was watching the TED Talk on grit the other
yes,
day, right? Right. Persistence
exactly.
and passion.
Yes, because there are so many external things that change in business and in branding that you have to know how to enjoy the ride. And I really believe the one that stays in the game wins
Mm,
because it allows you to learn, it allows you to be present in the room.
mhm.
Because if you quit and you're not in the room, you really aren't in a position to win. And
Right.
so just continuing to push through has been the core value, a personal core value of mine,
Mhm.
as well as getting in rooms where there are people who know more than you,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
because you are able to glean from their wisdom and experience. Mentorship has been the catalyst for the growth of my agency.
Good for you. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So some significant matters in your past, it sounds like.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's cool. And usually it's equally rewarding the mentor and the mentee, right?
Hmm.
I heard someone the other day say careers are learn, then earn, then return. That's how they broke it
Yes.
down. I'm thinking, well, we all kind of have to do all three at the same time right now.
Yes.
Juggle all three of those balls. You focus on helping your clients with, coaching on how they execute as an entrepreneur, or the marketing piece of their particular enterprise, or a bit of both.
Yes, a bit of both. So
Okay.
majority of my work is around branding and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But in our conversations and consulting sessions, I've learned that there are just business and character principles
Mm-hmm.
of my clients that they, open up and ask me for advice. And so over the last year, really with the pandemic, I've structured that conversation a little bit more so that as we are building marketing campaigns and branding campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
that leader or business owner can grow professionally along with their business as well.
Okay. Okay. I mean, marketing, I think, is one of the more difficult, and fast changing dimensions of a business these days. So
Yes,
for you to help with both of those, and help someone figure out how to latch on and execute on both of those,
right.
certainly makes a ton of sense to me. Hey, dot over to your ministry side clients for a second. I mean, this intrigues me.
Sure.
What's the big adjustment for, let's say, a faith-based or faith-centric business who says we need to pay more attention to our brand and our marketing, because there used to be a tension about those words,
Yes.
right? That we've got
You
to
know,
kind of get over.
I'll tell you this. The conversations that I've had with many faith-based leaders
Hmm.
prior to the pandemic
Yeah,
was a lot more difficult.
interesting.
Just because they naturally lead with their heart
Yeah.
and their faith tells them that it will happen based upon belief. And
Hmm.
I do agree with that. But there is some strategic things that just every business has to do in order to make themselves known to their target market. And so after the pandemic, when it became essential to provide virtual experiences, now my leaders are coming to me and saying, hey, how do we do this?
How
How
do we
do
do
we
this?
enrich our virtual experience or stand out with so many different things on their news feed?
Hmm.
And a lot of that has to do with their branding and their marketing.
Right.
And yes, so that has really helped out. But a lot of times, this last point, a lot of times I help them understand that what you're doing is you are showing up and allowing other people to know that you exist. If we just have the principle of being in the room or being present or expanding your reach, a lot more conversation and agreement happens after understanding that principle.
Okay, I'm going to go really historical broad strokes for a second, so bear
Okay.
with me. You look back, 500 odd years, advent of print, uh, it put a significant pressure on the functionings of faith-based institutions, which were predominant social institutions at the
Yes.
time, right? You had printed Bible bad, printed Bible good, like massive tension. People burned at the stake, little minor details like that. But eventually, pretty
Hmm.
much everyone had to adjust, right? Everyone
Yeah.
had to sort of exist in the print world, and then 20th century had an adjustment or some adjustments to the dominant media, radio, television, like the broadcast media of the
Hmm.
day. Not all churches were on TV. Not all faith-based ministries had television ads, radio ads, etc.
Right.
Um, but this abrupt pandemic event, which essentially pushed work and life online,
Hmm.
and gave us a real boot in the backside to in order to make things work, we had to go digital faster than we were getting there before. It
Yes.
seems like it's kind of made it absolutely necessary for businesses of all sort, including faith-based, like you got to figure this out. Why? Because for at least a year there, nobody's butt was in a pew.
Right. 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 And so here's what I'm finding in the industry, that a lot of faith-based organizations are kind of starting to do both,
Yeah,
because they open back up.
yeah,
They have learned how to do the virtual aspect, and they're
yeah,
going to continue to do it. But the key of serving is having people face to face. And so they need to ramp up their teams again,
hmm,
and they're looking to get people from out of their homes back into the four walls so that they could be involved in
yeah,
other places
yeah,
of the faith-based organization.
yeah,
And so I had just last week, I had an organization call and say, hey, we want to do flyers, invites, the print material, going back to the mailers, to these zip codes. How do we do that? How do we get back into that? Because we want to reach people that we have not reached before, that's in our local area. Back to the basis, what is around our building,
hmm,
to make it easier for people to come in and travel.
hmm, hmm. And did you advise them to do that and to keep the digital side of what they were up to intact?
Yes, because you actually need both. And the reason I say that is because a lot of organizations have also gained membership from individuals who are not in their local
Physically,
area.
right, right,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
we're talking about international members now,
Hmm,
yeah, individuals all the way across the water have come on board because the faith-based organizations have created new member tracks
hmm,
virtually
hmm,
for
hmm.
people to find out information about the organization, get involved, attend classes, and
Right,
watch online.
right,
And I think most importantly, they're able to donate to a mission that they believe in that may not be in their local area.
right, right. Yeah, it's definitely a new world there, and we're we're feeling our way through what's this new straddle, like
Mhm.
this simultaneous virtual and we realize what a gap. I think most people realize what a gap there was in their life when there were no live interactions, live community. Like we are wired to be in
Right,
community and be social. We're not going to be happy just sitting in front of screens all
right.
day. I think, yeah. Wow, that you spent 12 years getting there, but you put yourself in a very interesting juncture point.
Yes.
Um, did it not did the pandemic surprise you, but did what happened with your business during this past year and a half surprise you?
Yes. So for maybe about 3 months, it was how do we, because a lot of the marketing business and faith based are event driven,
Hmm,
if I could say that. So, hey, we're having this concert, we're having this event.
yeah,
And so a lot of those things were canceled.
yeah,
And so now is how do we create or pivot as an agency to open up more opportunities to say to our clients, this is the time where you need to market.
yeah, yeah.
I know everyone else is slowing down, everyone else is pulling back, but now we change our focus to create those back end, right behind the brand systems like email marketing,
Yeah.
like sales funnels and all of those other things, so that you can continue to engage with individuals.
Hmm,
And so the biggest thing that was surprising is getting individuals to know that you can do both virtual and in person.
yeah,
You can manage both.
yeah.
And a lot of times they're overwhelmed, like, okay, I just want to go all virtual, or this is, in person.
Yeah. Yeah, and or I'm sure for a while there was we can't wait to go back, as if we were going to go
Right.
back. Like, sorry, we're
Right.
not going back. Like,
No, it's a new normal.
it's a new normal. Well, it's funny, the guests that I had on this show last week, last guest I talked with, Andrew and Nellie Bonner. They're based in Spain, but they run an email industry conference multiple times a year, Inbox Expo,
Okay.
and Andrew and Nellie had Inbox Expo, the live version, scheduled, tickets bought, plane tickets, etc., for March 2020, and they closed it down and went virtual on 1 week's notice
Yes.
and pulled it off. Right,
Yes.
and I attended the virtual event. I was like, wow, these guys did a heck of a job. They really did. And now, early December, they've got their first sort of reemergent hybrid virtual and live again
Mm-hmm.
conference teed up, and they were talking about exactly that. It's like, this is the new normal. We do have to figure out how to accommodate this, and we don't really know what's going to work best. You don't want the hybrid attendees. You don't
Right.
want the folks from overseas who are attending services to be spectator only, second class citizens, read only, so to speak. But you can't take the flow of a conversation and
Right.
easily include the virtual. What reactions to that? How are you advising your clients to adapt to this reemergence?
So just an example, I had an organization that is in the medical field, their academy.
Mhm.
And so they planned a in-person event in beautiful Marco Island. And we started the ticket sales, and of course, COVID began to rise in July and June, well, June and July.
Mhm.
And so just within 2 weeks, we made the decision to one, keep the in-person as well as add the virtual.
Mhm.
And so one of the things we did to accommodate is we had a small group of all of the speakers, all of the participants, key workers to come to the island live and record.
Okay.
And so we did some live streaming as well as pre-recorded videos.
Mhm.
And those who purchased the tickets who wanted to be on the island could still attend, watch in their room virtually, and then just pick up any of the swag bags and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think the best thing is to listen to your audience. So these
Right.
were medical professionals. So just imagine having a live
Yeah.
event, you're a medical professional, the
Yeah.
PR of that would not be good
Yeah. Yeah.
during a time of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And so that client really had to pivot and still make things work
Mhm.
and come out profitable. So
Right.
that was super important.
Right.
Now, if there's other organizations who could make that adjustment, or if they don't have the infrastructure or the budget to create that virtual experience because it is an investment,
Mhm.
really rescheduling and knowing your audience. Are they in person? Is the product, can we create a great experience virtually with the service or the topic that you're discussing?
Right. Wow. And were you happy, and you and your client happy with the success of that move?
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
There were a lot of learning lessons, right?
I'll bet.
Um, down to, can the iPad actually view, so it was a
Right.
lot of learning lessons that we both learned from just a compatibility
Mhm.
standpoint, that you would only learn
Yeah.
while hitting the go button.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were able to take our learning lessons and apply that to the next year's conference where
Yep.
it was hybrid. So having individuals there with COVID restrictions,
Mhm.
as well as upgrading the virtual experience and really making it hands-on.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people just equate virtual experience to, hey, let's get on Zoom.
Yeah.
But no, a virtual experience is, how does that person feel? Did they receive anything in the mail that makes them feel a part
Right.
of the conference, right? do they have someone chatting with them as live events are going on? Do they have the ability to network with one another or respond and ask questions to the speaker,
Mhm.
and that speaker come out afterwards and have that virtual experience? So
Right.
really thinking out of the box, beyond just the face-to-face of what we're used to
Mhm.
every day in a virtual world.
Right. Right. Yeah. That and we're not done with that
Right.
with that restructure and that fine tuning of what works and what doesn't, and pinpointing the differences that matter. Right.
Yes.
Like you just said something about the uh the sort of side conversation stuff, and you made me realize, yeah, one of the things that happens in a live event is the chit chat with the person in the next seat, and that rarely happens in
Mm-hmm.
current, at least current virtual platforms. Just sort of
Right.
you're spectating passively,
Yep.
and sorry, the chat on the side is not quite the same thing. It's useful, but it's still not quite the same thing. Yeah. I have said multiple times, and I'll stand by it. We did luck out in terms of the timing of when
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit. 5 years earlier, the infrastructure, bandwidth, the sort of
Yeah.
readiness was not there.
No,
No,
no.
no. I've been trying to get people video conference for years, and they only were starting to do it habitually, right around 1919 or so, right? And
Wow.
then, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it really was. It used to be, golly, I'm going to sound old for a second here. People would expect you to get on a plane to go somewhere
Mhm.
for a 1 hour meeting, which
Yes.
frankly, I'm really glad that that's not the case anymore. Giddy up. Yay. That was always kind of stupid. And now doing this, right? This kind of intentional virtual conversation has
Mhm.
become a bit of a business norm. And frankly, I think it opens up a bunch of doors that
Yes,
were
I would agree.
logistically kind of shut before. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it really does free up our schedule, flying to across the state or,
Yeah.
across the country.
Yeah.
That's going to take up 4 hours. Now we could have, four conversations in those same 4 hours of traveling.
Yeah.
And so it does allow us to make more connections.
Yeah.
Just being really intentional about how do I connect after this moment. So the
Yeah.
small thing of, turning on your camera
Yeah.
or, having small talk before the meeting, those things matter.
Yeah. 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 They really do. Let's, just because it's in the title, let's circle around to email a little bit.
Yes, sure. So
Where's that fit in your world?
one of the things that email really does for us, I think, is it gives us ownership
Hmm.
as a business. And so if we think about social media, we get on Facebook, Instagram, all of those great companies, social media companies. We don't own it.
Right.
And so if I don't know if you experienced it, but when Facebook shut down a couple of weeks ago, I kept restarting my phone. I thought something
Wow.
is wrong, not
Wow.
realizing, well, your email still works, your phone still is receiving calls,
Yeah.
but life was almost done when Facebook
Wow.
and Instagram shut down.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
But one of the things it should have taught every business owner is that you
You
don't
don't
own
own
that
that.
real
Yeah.
estate.
You don't own that real estate. No, I couldn't. Well, it's funny. I mean, ironically, I banned Facebook, Instagram, etc. I've never run a Facebook app consciously on my mobile device. I've got a Facebook
Mhm.
account I faithfully check in at least every other month. And it's just like, that's just personal. That's not a professional thing. It's just like I felt like my attention was kind of getting sucked down 15, 20 minute rabbit hole with
Yes.
not enough return on it. So I decided to, but it's given me a little bit of personal perspective on your fundamental point about owning the permission to and channel to communicate, which
Yes.
email is one of the few sort of free range You're in control of your email address. You can share it with me. I can communicate with you. We're not paying anybody or asking anybody. That's in
Yes,
your control and my control.
yes.
Yeah, yay.
And then it does allow you to engage. So making sure we're providing value
Mm,
to an individual.
mm.
I'm in branding and I do some business consulting, but one of my partners, she shares with me the grants that are opening up for businesses. And so one of the things I just did for my personal agency is say, hey, here's a list of business grants that you can have access to. There was no sales pitch, there was no extra. Hey, go check it out.
Right.
And so it allows us to connect on a regular basis if need be, or
Mhm.
and then it allows us to do more business. Of course, integrate them into other products and services. So
Mm.
super important. I think what we have to master is and be okay with, and I have this as well, just personally, is that you want quality over quantity. And so in the world of social media, and I hope to get to that point where I just get on off and not be sucked into those rabbit holes, and TikTok has me. Oh my, I need to go to
Everyone says it's just deadly good at that. It's
it
not
is
just you.
deadly. It is an addiction.
Yeah.
But being able to really connect with the right people.
Hmm.
And so making sure that we're having meaningful engagements, not just, hey, let me sing you something to sell you something,
Mhm.
but really making sure our audience is interested in what we have to offer, as well as the audience is now, coming on and taking our services and products. And it's really a shared relationship.
Right, right. Yeah. Which is it's a tough balancing act to
Yes.
keep that going. It's like, should I share this grant information with this set of people?
Right.
Well, let me guess. Their inbox is overloaded. Yes, check. We know that, right? So send that along. Why? Well, because they might not find it. It might really affect their business. It might be really beneficial for them. They
Mhm.
can ignore it, which 90% of them will, because it's what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough calculus. Do you know anybody whose inbox is not overloaded?
No, I don't.
Right? I mean, I did throw that question out there was a group conversation a couple months ago, and I said, is anyone at inbox zero? And one guy's like, yeah, me. So like, first thing I do in the morning is clear everything out. I was like,
Oh no.
wow, respect.
I do know, come to think about it, I do know one person who has it on like auto delete,
Yeah,
at 60 days,
yeah.
it deletes everything. And I'm like, oh, don't you need some of that important information? But yeah, I hope to get there one day.
I don't know where that's all. I don't know where that ends up going. I mean, I would argue that the rise of cloud-based email, Gmail's the easy one to single out, but Office 365 as well, that
Yeah.
removed the gating factor of local storage, made it even harder. I mean, if you delete a
Yes.
message in Gmail, it's not actually deleted. It's in another folder that says it's trash, but it's still there. It still shows
Right.
up in searches, right? It's like didn't actually delete it, and it doesn't cost you anything to leave that up there. So like that the 60-day rolling delete, sneakily brilliant, but like you said, that oh my gosh, I might need this later is
Yeah.
that's a big breaking factor on that. Like, and how many of us are guilty of making our inbox our de facto to do and filing system?
Yes. Yeah.
Almost everybody.
Yes.
Almost everybody. Yeah, it's and email, as I've often said, because I've been around email for a lot over the decades. I mean, it wasn't designed for the purposes we're putting it to, but it was designed loosely enough where we're able to put it to those purposes. If someone
Wow.
said, I want to do all my communication via text, I'd laugh because it won't work.
Right.
Right? It's like
Right.
it's too interruptive. The storage is actually kind of crap. It's kind of, meant for little tiny devices, not for this kind of device, and filing things and keeping things, like none of that really works particularly well. And email, for better or worse, is kind of evolved into this, loose, it's in our control, your fundamental
Mhm.
point, conduit that we can use for those things. I've done some work in the past with attorneys, and you'd think they'd be super on top of confidentiality and security, but they send everything via email, which is,
Everything.
that's like the least secure channel you could use, guys. But anyway, and
Yeah.
they expect to coordinate stuff on these awful email threads that go back weeks. And
Yes.
even email, you have to read backwards. Like the most recent stuff you see
Yes.
here, like it's idiotic from a communication design system. It's idiotic, and yet we stick with it.
And it doesn't show the same on a mobile device
Right,
as the
right,
computer.
right,
So
right.
there's times where individuals will say, "Hey, I sent you an email," and I go search on my phone and
Yeah.
it's nothing there. But I search on the computer, all of a sudden there's their email
Yeah.
unread.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole, and the conversational threading that I think Gmail does was like, that's a big adjustment if you came from a message by message habit. You're like, wait a minute, my back and forth with Nicole is all going to be under the same message.
yeah.
Like, my head's going to explode.
And let's not talk about the different categories now that
Yeah,
Gmail has, right?
yeah,
Promotional,
yeah,
regular inbox.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The email marketers that I speak with, like there's a bit of a about the promotions tab, like
Yes, I
a lot of
know.
work to not be there.
Yes, yes,
Hmm, interesting. And Google would say it makes the experience better for their users. Maybe, but it's also a kind of a default. And what happens with defaults is we accept them. When you
mm,
when you turn on a an Android phone, the default browser is Chrome. Percentage of people who change it, very low, right?
yeah,
When you
yeah,
fire up a Mac, default browser is Safari. Percentage of people who change it, relatively low, although Chrome has made some inways there. And so now the promotions tab, I don't even know how to say, I don't want a promotions tab. So
yeah. Me neither.
is it really consumer choice?
They do have some options in settings,
Yeah.
but some of those emails that fall in there, I actually do want to know, about them,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not in a promotions tab.
Right. And apparently, if you drag out of, now we're getting really email geeky. If you drag something out of the promotions tab enough times, Gmail says, "Oh, that sender,
Yes,
this person wants to be in the inbox. Okay, got it. But you just made me do work to change the
yes,
structure that you guys imposed." Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
And at the same time, everything in the inbox wasn't necessarily great either. We all put up with it,
right.
or we developed our own, sort of filtering and automation to route things around. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not going to go away. It's not going to get easier. I use a. I was telling this to someone the other day. I actually pay for an email client, which I know is a shocking thing to say out loud. But there's an email client called Superhuman. Works. It only
Okay.
works. Yeah. Have you heard of it?
No.
Superhuman. Um, I signed up thinking, oh, this is a $30 experiment. I'll write a blog post. There's no way I'm going to pay for an email client. They did such an adroit job of making it ridiculously fast
Wow.
and ridiculously keyboard and keystroke centric that it gamified email successfully, for me at least.
Wow.
So if I'm reading through messages and there's a message from some list that I signed up for, X number of years ago that I never read, if
Yeah.
I hit the U key on the keyboard, it unsubscribes me.
Wow.
Right? Would I ever go to the trouble of reading down, finding the link, clicking it, go to the web page, do the unsubscribe? No.
No.
Right? I
No.
just delete it or ignore it, which costs them a send and all that other stuff. And the superhuman guys are like, no, 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 no. It's all got to be keyboard centric. If you sent me an email and I said, oh, I got to call her back next week, one keystroke to schedule to have it surface again next week, and it just disappears until then.
Oh, I need that class.
And here I'm going superhuman commercial, but for me at least, the reason I've stuck with it is that speed and gamification have
Yeah.
helped with the volume. It's $30 worth of time easily
Yeah.
that I get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, huh?
And yeah, and that's with that those entrepreneurs that have to do so many roles.
Yeah,
I am looking to automate a
everything.
lot of pieces in my life, whether
Yeah,
personally or in business. And
yeah,
that really sounds like it does save you a lot of time where you can focus on things that actually bring you money and income.
yeah, yeah. Or that or bring you something of value.
Yes. Yes.
Interest, attention, focus, learning something of value. I do think, and now we're really wandering afield. It intrigues me that I'll say this as carefully as I can. Learning the keyboard shortcuts plays a
Mhm.
big role in attention and focus. Like
Mm,
email client that I can go ding ding and it's sort of dealt with,
yes.
or text shortcuts, which I use ridiculous amount. Why? Because I don't want to type Matthew Dunn again, right? Like
Yes.
for the 9 billionth time, right? If I can do it
Yes.
in one key or two keys, that seems like a little thing, but it's really a big thing over time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at the text expander I used the other day, and it said that it had saved me 60 hours in the last year.
Wow.
That's a lot of time to get back.
Yeah, yeah. Something I found that's been very useful and is just the AI copywriters.
Oh,
Hey,
have you? Interesting.
yes, because it's just like, hey, I need to say this. I'm going to say it in my own terms,
Hmm.
and it can help expand the thought, give you, much more time and freedom back from sitting there writing emails, writing texts, writing social media posts. So that's been something that I have incorporated into my business as well.
So, what's your emotional relationship with spell check?
I have Grammarly, the premium version.
Okay. Okay.
And so I do appreciate it. There are times where I would say, hey, nah, I want to say it like this.
Right.
And so I don't have full trust,
Yeah.
but I do lean on it and have found that it has been helpful in larger, you know, um, projects. I am getting a little used to, I know we're talking about email, but Gmail has the finish your
You finish your
sentence
sentence. Yeah.
um feature, which is very interesting. I really want to understand how they've gathered all of that data and know what I'm trying to say. And that means you definitely had to read the email that came in before to find what is more fitting.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of scary and interesting as we evolve in our AI world.
Well, they've got, that's one of the benefits of having 1.2 billion email inboxes is that there's a lot of inbound email to do, pattern learning on, pattern detection on, to train AIs. Doesn't mean they are reading your email, but it does mean that we've all donated access to a lot of patterns to
Mm,
help perfect that. Ungodly amount of compute power to try and make sense of it. I use that feature as well. I like it more on mobile because I find typing on mobile a pain.
yeah, yes,
Yeah, and
yes.
and on a keyboard sometimes and occasionally, but as a fast typist, I don't like, it's not as consciously a need.
Yeah.
And I'm the guy who just said I like keyboard shortcuts, so make sense of that one if you will. Yeah, brave and strange new world that we're inhabiting. That finish the sentence thing has a funny challenge too, because I'm guessing it's better at relatively stock phraseology. Like so look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Okay, that's been
Right.
said in
Yeah.
English a lot of times.
Yeah.
If you're doing something a lot more distinct, my advice for your brand is please do not fill in that blank for me, right?
Right.
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 My value is saying what
Yes.
I what I said after the first part of the phrase there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
please let me know if you have any
Yeah,
questions
that kind of
or,
stuff.
hi Matthew, they'll fill in the name and things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the social closers. I find, and now we'll really go down an email rabbit hole. I find the selling science of cold email a little bit fascinating, a little bit scary. How carefully the companies who do a lot of that study every word and
Yes.
phrase, and how carefully email marketing companies work on subject lines and the tweak and the difference in result. And I get that it matters, but it also feels manipulative.
It
It
does. And it is. And that's
is.
that's a process of marketing.
Yeah.
Really, those buzzwords,
Yeah. Yeah.
having them within the body that causes the mind and preps the mind to buy or continue in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's everywhere. It's in commercials, it's in social media, it's in email,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all a bit lab rats now because networks run both ways, right?
Mhm.
Your the web page you hit tells the guy whose web it is that you hit it, where you were from, what kind of browser you used, all that other stuff. And we've got the controversy going right now in email of Apple clamping down on what they called spy pixels. I don't know if you've been tracking that one. Apple is reporting. Apple is sending the flag that we've used for 20 years to indicate email open for everything that hits an iPhone. So all of a sudden,
Mhm.
open rates are going right, and they're going to become useless potentially because of that decision by
Wow.
Apple. Yeah, yeah, which is a big deal for marketing,
Yeah,
for email marketing.
definitely. I have
Big
to look
deal.
at that
Yeah.
after our call today.
Um, MPP, which stands for Mail Privacy Protection. If you search MPP
Yeah.
and email, you'll find some of the details on that, and it's definitely stirred up the email marketing world more than a fair bit because they've used the same mechanism for 2 decades, and now all of a sudden it's getting changed.
Change. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
well. Oh well. We didn't want it all to stay static and stay the same. It does seem like the really big players, the Apples, the Amazons, the Googles, uh,
Yeah.
can make moves like that, and the rest of us just have to adapt.
You just have to follow.
It's like Google changing search algorithms. Like,
Right.
it's not like you get a protest. You just have to adapt.
Right. Exactly.
Is that website SEO? Is that domain? Do you end up helping your clients with that world as well?
Yes. So we have a team within our agency. We really focus on SEO
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that we are doing it. It really does take a lot. You can't just do one.
Mm-mm.
We're just going to do blogs and that's the only thing.
Yeah.
We definitely have to do a lot on multiple search engines, right? And so that affects your score and how you're viewed and your authority score on Google. And so we have put checklists in place to make sure we are hitting all aspects. Even just setting up a website and saying, okay, we want to do Google Analytics, where there's about 4 more apps of Google blank that you have to put in and
Yes.
install
Yes.
in
Yes.
your
Yes.
website
Yeah.
just to get a full dashboard of analytics
Yeah.
so that you know how to actually move forward and make wiser decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And Google Analytics, man, mastering that thing
Yeah,
takes a substantial investment of
it
time.
does.
It's
It
like, and
does.
I mean, yeah, it's indispensable, but it's just like, God, exhausting as well.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
adding a user
Yeah.
to your Google,
Yeah.
Google Analytics
Yeah.
profile.
Yeah.
can be-
Yeah.
you have to go down like 3 tabs and then
Mm-hmm.
finally find users.
Because
But
it's that complex. I've got you can't see it because of the camera, but I've got 2 monitors in front of me. I've got another monitor here, and then a older iMac with a big monitor here. And on the two
Mhm.
outboard ones, so what is that? 4 screens total.
Yeah.
On the two outboard ones, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 Google Analytics tabs showing the real-time view of various websites and apps so that I can keep an eye on
On how they're
traffic.
doing.
It's like, it's
Wow.
ridiculous. Like, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, oh, look, someone from Tampa, Florida is visiting the website, but
Right.
it's ridiculous that it's all sitting there like that all the time.
And then really, from an agency standpoint, you now have to have a dedicated person
I would think.
that is knowledgeable
I would
just
think.
around
Yeah.
there. A
Yeah, I would
dedicated
think.
person knowledgeable around Facebook and Instagram. It's just like now it's more complex. And because of the changes in one platform to the next,
Mm.
you literally have to have a team that is diverse on and experts in one platform.
Yeah. Well, I mean that is the new that we've made the shift from the media landscape of newspaper, radio, television. You've got, I think, over half of the ad spend in the country is shifted to digital. Pretty sure that's
Mhm.
right. So, of course it got more complex, and of course it became more specialization required. And I mean,
Yes.
kind of natural. No one ever just said, here's a piece of paper, I think I'll do a television ad. There were layers and expertise and advice in between, you and the final result then. And we're doing the same kind of stacking up complexities, if maybe even worse,
Mhm.
in the digital domain. It is daunting for a smaller business, and like you must run into this with your clients where they're like,
Yes. Yep. To the point where some of them just like, okay, I'm gonna hand this to you guys
yeah,
and see you
yeah,
later.
yeah,
And so it's just like drawing them in to know, ultimately the basis of marketing is relationship.
yeah.
And so even though we have come on as partners, it's so important to keep the foundational principles of relationship marketing.
Hmm.
And you have to be a part of the voice and development of that as a client.
Right.
And so that's some of the conversations I have with my clients as well. Yes, we're going to take the heavy lifting off for you, but we still want you to be a part of the process.
Yeah, yeah. You're just helping facilitate that relationship marketing. You can't actually be the relationship.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So for closer, where do you see MEMarketing heading? Where do you want to take this enterprise of yours?
Yeah. So we have really been focused on Behind the Brand, which is a new program
Hmm.
that is based on 4 areas: being, belief, business, and bank. And so we want to help our clients to not just go to the next level in their business and in their banking aspect, but we want to look and see, hey, what is the relationships you're having with your clients? What do you believe? Let's have some foresight on where you see your company going, as well as how are you doing as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, and
Hmm.
how that affects the growth of your business.
Hmm.
So over the next, and I think the pandemic has really helped us to come up with this because as you know, mental health has really gone up during the pandemic. And so if a person is struggling in all of those areas and they come and they can't get out of bed, it's going to affect their business, it's going to affect their bank.
Hmm.
So we have built on another team and have some strategic partners that are experts in their field to come on board to help facilitate a course on online videos that they can access at any time that
Hmm.
focuses on that is a supplement to our marketing campaigns that
Wow,
we built for them.
wow, wow. It's a very healthy and balanced thing to do.
Yeah.
Are you able to practice? Are you able to practice what you quite literally preach in this case?
Yes. So I
Cool.
will tell you that because I know from experience, it's difficult. It's difficult to do because when business calls, it requires, especially if you're a smaller business and growing. We have grown to 6 employees now.
Nice.
But I know when it's by myself, when I was by myself, just having to do everything, my days were, 12, 14 hours. Now I'm probably down to maybe 10 to 9 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But the aspect of making sure my mental health is super important to the growth of my agency is so important. Two things that I've done to put it in practice. Here's some simple things. It's not business related, but I have brought on board in my personal home a laundry service and a cleaning service. And so what that allows me to do is get back, 2 to 4 hours of laundry time.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I built a relationship where the cleaning service comes in every 2 weeks
Yeah.
and gives me back, 2 hours of my time, and
Yeah.
allows me to spend that with my son.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. And you had to give yourself permission to go ahead and do that, right?
Yes, because, as a woman, that is our pride. We take care of our home and nobody else can do it like us.
Yeah.
But I had to realize where is my impact?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it'll become easier when you understand, I call it your gift of genius. If I'm making a greater impact over here,
Yeah.
but I'm more focused on the lower level duties, that is actually someone else's genius where they
Mhm.
make the most impact,
Mm-hmm.
then not only will my income suffer, but also my mental state, because I'm not happy and fulfilled. And
Right.
that's the most important,
Right.
is as we are building a brand, as we are doing business, are we happy and are we fulfilled? If not, we need to make a shift.
Mm.
In order to do that, we have to take a step back from business. Like you said, I got off of Facebook and there was probably some things that you wanted to focus on and really hone in.
Mm.
And so we have to take a step back and realize that's the most important thing, is you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Nice closer. Well, what a delight to speak with you, Nicole.
Yes, it was definitely a delight as well. Thank you so much.
Where does someone find, if they're listening to this and they say, wow, I could use your help, where does someone go, let's be old fashioned, on the web
Yes.
to find you?
And I'm going to say this the old fashioned way, www.
Yes.
ministryeventmarketing.com. And we look forward to connecting with you. You can find us on all social media platforms at Ministry Event Marketing. And yes, thank you so much. You can schedule a free consultation with one of our agents, and we'll be happy to help you create a brand that inspires.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. I'm going to hit end.
All right, thanks.